Look very closely at the foundation of any centuries-old institution, and you'll eventually see where the cracks start to show. Cambridge University has spent over 800 years cultivating an image of impenetrable academic excellence. Recently, though, it has aimed to modernize that image by aggressively recruiting scholars from underrepresented backgrounds to walk its hallowed halls. To do this, Cambridge relies on internal financial engines like the Isaac Newton Trust. The trust channels millions of pounds directly into research grants, early career fellowships, and targeted inclusion initiatives. The trust's annual report shows exactly where that money goes. Out of over £2 million committed, £242,000 is earmarked explicitly for widening participation and induction activities. On paper, the financial commitment is clear. Elite institutions are writing real checks to build a pipeline for disadvantaged scholars to finally enter the ivory tower. But a budget line can only do so much. In August 2026, the academic community was stunned when sociologist Jason Arday abruptly resigned his professorship. Arday was appointed in 2023 as the youngest Black professor in Cambridge's history. He was widely celebrated as a success story of these exact widening participation efforts. His exit followed a sudden storm of public allegations. Arday faced accusations of plagiarism and embellishing parts of his curriculum vitae, claims that quickly spiraled into a national media spectacle. The initial charges didn't emerge from a standard peer review. They were driven by a self-described race realist, a former Cambridge academic who had previously been dismissed from his role at Emmanuel College, and had publicly suggested that in a meritocracy, there would be close to 0 Black professors at elite schools. Arday did admit to making mistakes on his CV. However, a separate disciplinary investigation by Cambridge University found that he did not breach the law, nor did he contravene university regulations. How does an institution spending hundreds of thousands of pounds to invite minority scholars inside become an environment so hostile it actively drives them out? For Black academics across the United Kingdom, the Arday affair is being processed as a systemic warning sign rather than an isolated scandal. Their critique points to a sharp asymmetry in how elite spaces handle failure. One academic noted that when a white peer falters, the institution treats it as an individual lapse in judgment, a story about a single person. But for a Black academic, a mistake is often treated as collective proof. It is weaponized by critics to question whether any minoritized scholar truly belongs in these spaces. Arday's peers highlight the case of a white Cambridge academic accused of plagiarizing a student's work. That academic kept his job and avoided any comparable media frenzy. From the perspective of many Black scholars, this reflects an environment where minority success is treated with inherent structural suspicion, while the majority is afforded a degree of grace rarely extended to outsiders. This cultural tension doesn't exist in a vacuum. It is playing out against a backdrop of severe financial scarcity. This animated chart shows the trajectory of recent humanities funding in the UK. Vicious budget cuts have created a zero-sum game, forcing scholars to fight over a rapidly shrinking pool of resources. In a cutthroat environment where jobs are disappearing, right-wing critics find fertile ground. They can exploit financial anxieties to launch coordinated smear campaigns against Black progress. Combine institutional financial desperation with a highly coordinated political attack, and the result is an ecosystem perfectly primed to eject marginalized scholars at the first sign of vulnerability. The immediate fallout from Arday's resignation has sent a chill through the ranks of minoritized researchers. Many Black scholars working in the United Kingdom today are now refusing to speak on the record about the case. They fear that raising their heads will simply make them the next target for a coordinated digital takedown. Professor Kehinde Andrews has publicly suggested that the academic sector has become so toxic that elite universities may no longer be viable or safe spaces for minoritized academics to build their careers. Because this toxicity is left unchecked, elite institutions are losing the exact diverse talent they spend so much time and money claiming to value. Contrasting that £242,000 against Arday's exit highlights a gap money hasn't bridged. The financial investment in widening the doors is being outpaced by an institutional culture failing to protect those who walk through them. You can pour millions into the hiring pipelines, but that money offers zero protection once scholars are actually inside the building, trying to survive against bad faith attacks. If legacy institutions actually want to retain the diverse talent they recruit, a line item in a budget isn't enough. They have to build a culture that defends its people with the same vigor it uses to defend its own ancient reputation.